Few words are more famous than these. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights. Yet people often stumble over the idea that we are all equal. How can that be? Crucially, human equality comes before human difference. We can spot differences among us only because we are all humans, and in that regard, equal. As humans, we share a capacity for moral judgment and an innate striving to choose actions that make tomorrow better than yesterday. This is how our drive and capacity for freedom show themselves. We are all children of God, or of nature, as we see fit. The government that will best help humans flourish will start by protecting human freedom. This requires maximal space for self-government, and also government of the whole people, that is by and for the people. In 1776, the Declaration of Independence began to spell out the kind of government needed to recognize and protect equality and the shared natural drive for freedom. Its long list of grievances against King George III is carefully organized. First come complaints about violations of legislative powers, then complaints about abuses of judicial powers, then complaints about excesses of executive power. The idea that power should be separated into three categories, that each type of power should be limited, and that they should check and balance each other are articulated already here in the Declaration, even before we get to the Constitution. That abstract framework describes the practices necessary for recognizing and protecting human equality. The institutional details that bring them to life provide what the authors of the Federalist Papers called Republican safety, protection of our basic liberties. The desire to build society around the affirmation of human equality has a long history and is a deep American story. The Stoics, including the ancient Roman statesman Cicero, saw a spark of the divine in every human creature, and, for the first time, developed the idea that we have obligations not only to kith and kin, but also to all humankind. Christianity carried that vision forward and spread it worldwide. The principle of equality articulated in the Declaration of Independence was meant so seriously that it grounded the abolition of enslavement in Massachusetts, Pennsylvania, and Vermont before the end of the Revolutionary War. Some 80 years later, the Confederacy's own declaration explicitly rejected the American Declaration of Independence on the grounds that it had embraced full human equality, which the Confederacy denied. There have always been competing streams of thought in America, but the egalitarian principle has been there from the beginning. Time and time again, it has won out because the true American spirit has always been about the claim of ordinary people to full civic participation and the vigorous defense of freedom. This strong argument about equality in the Declaration of Independence provokes a common question. Is it not contradicted by the authorship of the Declaration by Thomas Jefferson, who held numerous people in bondage for the whole of his lifetime? The text itself was drafted by Jefferson and then edited by other committee members, especially John Adams and Benjamin Franklin, and then edited again by Congress. Adams never held people in bondage and was always against enslavement. Franklin had owned people earlier in his life, but by the Revolutionary War had repudiated the practice and embraced abolition. Adams and Franklin were two of the leading figures who transformed the language and arguments of the Declaration into a foundation for abolition of enslavement. But these leading statesmen were not the only ones to embrace the Declaration's principles of equality and put them immediately to work. Free African-American Prince Hall was the first to use the language of the Declaration for a purpose other than revolution. In submitting a petition for the abolition of enslavement in Massachusetts, he wrote, "That your petitioners apprehend that they have in common with all other men a natural and unalienable right to that freedom which the great parent of the universe hath bestowed equally on all mankind, and which they have never forfeited by any compact or agreement whatever. Abigail Adams, wife of John Adams, raised a question about whether placing all power in the hands of men could protect the rights of all. She warned her husband in a letter that if the new government did not do more to incorporate women's interests, we are determined to foment a rebellion and will not hold ourselves bound by any laws in which we have no voice or representation. Happily, the Constitution has a mechanism for amendment, and so with, among others, the 13th, 14th, 15th, and 19th Amendments, which ended slavery, blocked its legacies, and gave women the right to vote. The instrument that organizes the power of our government has continually moved towards the sharing of power necessary to protect equality. The principle of equality was there from the beginning, in the foundation provided by the Declaration of Independence. But how we organize the powers of government to protect that equality needed to evolve over time through the work of ordinary people, claiming their freedom and equality.